Hello and welcome back to the Behind the Bill series, episode 2. We know it's been a while since we have one of these episodes out, but it was due to the COVID restrictions that we could not have the episodes rolling. However, today's episode is featuring Mr. David Landry Smith and his Toyota's Hilux, part 1, because he also has a Suzuki Jimny that we'll do in another episode. And today's episode is sponsored by our good friends over at Bizol. If you look behind me, we have the Bizol engine oil, gear oil, brakes fluid, brakes cleaner, and the diesel purge system clean. Thanks very much to my good friend Declan Joseph for sponsoring me with this episode, and we look forward to having a lot of sponsorship from him in the future. So, as we roll along, we introduce Mr. David. We'll allow Mr. David to introduce himself and give us a little background about his personal experience.
Right, thank you very much, Salim and Kyle, the videographer. My name is David, and I'm here today to talk to you about my Toyota Hilux Vigo and the build over the years. It's a 2007 that I got before Toyota started to bring it in. And let me just go back to COVID mode. Hope you could still hear. So yeah, 2007 from Rampasad on the bypass there. Tennille, Rampasad is the one who was the sales director that sold it to me. And from day one, I started to modify it. Started off with the snorkel, a safari snorkel. And the person who did all of this build, including the 3-inch body lift, it was Martin Chino Achong from Tableland. So he was the master mechanic who did a lot of the work. But now the master mechanic is the Salim Khan himself, right? So he has taken over.
No, I'm nothing close to what
you are master mechanic. I went into Toyota and looked at his name on the board. He is one of 2 lead mechanics and has done all of the master's training, passed all the exams, Toyota Kaizen special exams. So, anyway,
he's over-exaggerating the
I am not exaggerating. I didn't take a picture of it. But so this is a 1 KD FTV. It has it's a 3-liter, so turbo intercharge. Everybody knows that, and it was set up to do 35-inch mud terrains on 9-inch wide wheels. So that means that the body mount under the what is that pillar called? The A pillar. That was adjusted to suit it without really changing anything on the chassis. Okay, but I changed the tires back to 33-inch tires because at my age and stage of life, I'm mainly on the road with this, and I use the Suzuki, the Zook as I call it, for heavy off-roading. So this really doesn't see a lot of off-roading. So I went back to 33s from 35.
So Mr. David, before you carry on, so what made you in initial stages? How long now would you say you're into off-roading?
Right, so I started off, it was the person that really caused me to start off-roading was the birth of my daughter when I was very young. So she would have been born in 1979, if I got that right. So I immediately in the late 70s started to off-road by learning to ride a motorcycle so I could give the one car that the family had to the wife and to transport the baby daughter, right?
Okay, nice.
So that was an off-road bike, a trail bike. And I used to do trail riding all through the 80s. And then into the 90s, I started from 2 wheels to back to 4 wheels, 4x4, with an L200 Mitsubishi that was lifted and locked in the back with an ARB air locker. And that's now a bright canary yellow and is up in the east-west corridor area.
So
and then I switched to the Suzuki then because it outperformed the pickups for the kind of rough terrain that we were doing. And then when I sold that L200, I got this Hilux. And the reason for that is because the Hilux had a lot of off-road aftermarket support because it was popular in the States as well as Australia compared to the L200 Mitsubishi.
So a little while ago, we had a conversation about you joining TTORC. How was that beneficial to you as a young guy you are, and what did it do for you in the aspect of your off-roading capabilities?
Sure. So I was introduced to TTORC, Trinidad and Tobago Off-Road Club, by Lara Quentrell Thomas. So she was a woman doing off-roading in those days, which was, I mean, that happens nowadays. And we went through all of the trails in Trinidad and Tobago. I can't even remember the names now, you know, whether it be Madamas or Rincon, El Ticuch, just numerous trails in the north, in the central, through the Caroni and so on, as well as down in the south. So all through, from sandy mud to really deep mud that you have in the Sapote down in the south and so on.
The central. In
the central and south. So yeah, we did one of the favorite ones was the Verdant Vale, and also Platinal Trail up in Kumaka.
So what you're trying to say is that as I'm a younger generation here now,
they're doing the same trails.
So you could carry us to find these trails on them, or
I should be able to, but I believe that that you all have discovered not only those old trails but some new ones as well. So yeah. I don't think there's anything to teach there really, but I mean I would be willing to go along. I wouldn't use this baby, I would use the Zook, the Samurai Jimny.
Guys, but, he's talking about the Zook a lot, and don't worry, next episode we're going to feature the Zook, and you guys will be amazed about the capabilities of the Zook. Right. But going forward now, not to cut you across, but going forward, so tell us specifically what you did behind this beautiful work of art here, looking so beefy. Tell us a little bit about the suspension.
Right, so the suspension is Old Man Emu, or EMU.
EMU.
Yeah, EMU. And that's just about a about a 1.5 inch lift or so, or 1.25 inch lift. And there's a 3-inch body lift on this. And to do that, in those days, they didn't have the 3-inch or 2-inch body lifts out of Australia in those days. I had to use American Performance Accessories body lift, and I had to use 2 body lift kits to do this. One from the old model pickup and one from the Tacoma. And so this has Tacoma through the body, and for the tray in the back, it has the old model pickup.
Okay.
So it was
understood.
Expensive to do that. And the usual issues that we wouldn't go in here in terms of what you have to be careful with when you're doing a body lift.
And the springs are also capable of the load capacity for the front steel bumper and winch.
So ARB bumper, I brought that in myself, and that was color coded by Bola in Marabella. Gasparello, sorry.
Yeah.
What am I saying?
Same place.
This was installed by Martin Achong Chino.
And he did the body lift and the suspension.
He did the suspension, including the springs, the ARB springs and so on, as well as cutting for the snorkel and so on.
Right. So earlier you mentioned to us that this van used to run on 35-inch tires.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. We know that people say about when you run bigger size tires that you regear your differentials to compensate for road speedometer and stuff like that. So
yes, so we did that. What we did was change the 3.909 gearing, which came with this automatic,
right,
to 4.555 or 4.56 ring and pinion. So we use, I think, nitro for the rear and perhaps Yukon for the front, or the other way around. To do the front, it's a clamshell. So when you change that out, that's difficult to do. You have to do it over to get the
backlash and
backlash everything. Correct. Now, one thing I would like to say on the video here is that I put a Eaton automatic locker in the back, and that's a mistake to do with an automatic. The backlash, no matter how tight you set it, when you change the reverse gear as opposed to a manual, it hits very hard, and it broke the ring and pinion just from going with no throttle, just reverse to drive.
The back.
Tremendous torque on the diesel, it hammers the ring and pinion.
Understood.
So I changed it all out to ARB air lockers, and I would prefer electric lockers, but ARB air lockers tough this time.
Well, I'm thinking that across the years, the design of the e-locker may have changed, and they may have done a better job in because I'm watching some reviews about the Harrop e-lockers, and they did some design improvements.
I think that's a good thing. Yeah.
We so in the future, for my personal build, I was looking at more the e-locker, because the ARB compressors and stuff like that, I'm not too keen on putting additional compressors and stuff.
I agree with you.
But so we said the regain and the
regearing allows you to get back your accuracy on your speedometer. And get your gearing back to match, and you can work it out. And
so why didn't you opt for going for a little taller gear ratio for more torque in the trails we have? Did you see it necessary to go up with the gearing, or just remain back to the stockish rule?
No, what you need to remember is this is an automatic. So an automatic has a torque converter, which before it locks up, as you start revving off, it's a torque multiplier. So that is effectively lower gearing when you're automatic, as opposed to manual, which as soon as you engage the clutch on a manual, you are you're getting the full drive. So on a manual, you could put an automatic locker, it doesn't hammer it, and you could put the taller gearing to have more torque on the trail. But you don't really need that with the automatic. But the danger of the automatic is overheating, so I put both a forced air automatic fan cooler as well as a heatsink cooler, two coolers on this towards the back next to the transmission to keep it cool for off-roading. And that's critical if you're going to use an automatic off-road, I think, especially for deep mud and so on.
So guys, as you can see, Mr. David is a very young guy. He's recently retired, and we had a lot of previous conversations before, and he was telling me about his ham radio, which he enjoys using right now on the road. So tell us a little bit about why it is you chose to go the ham radio and stuff.
Well, I went with amateur ham radio, which you have to be licensed by the Telecommunications Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, TAT. Because I thought that as I get older, I would want a hobby where instead of you driving to the world, you could sit at home and reach out to the world.
Nice.
And so I have mobile setup on the pickup. This is VHF UHF, and that is 10 meters.
Okay.
Which is HF really, and so I have the capability to talk. My call sign is 9Z4 DLS, Delta Lima Sierra. So you have to be licensed to do that. You have a few exams to sit, and it's a great hobby.
Guys, he's a very intelligent person. I wouldn't lie, a lot of the off-roading and lifting knowledge that I gathered over the past few months, most of them came from him, listening to him in his conversations and stuff. And that's why we chose him to be one of the guys to be featured on this build series, on this behind the build series, sorry, because we needed content like this. So you also told me that the steel bumpers, right?
Yeah.
ARB, and you had skid plates installed. So tell us why you preferred the ARB over the TGM or the other rivals bumpers and stuff like that, or was this what was available at the time?
Yeah, sure. At the time, ARB was a recognized engineered bumper that had the concertina type crush mounts to be compatible with your airbags and so on. Iron Man came a bit later, and so did the others in terms of your knowledge of it all over the world. This was before the internet took off, before YouTube. Remember, I've been doing this quite a few years.
Sir. See, that's one thing about the age, right?
So yeah, you know, they have others that are well engineered now, TJM and so on. Yes, by all means, and the Russian rival and so on. These are ones that are quite they're even, you know, perhaps arguably more attractive and so on, more modern, and they have an ultra cool factor. But at the time, back in the day, ARB was the engineered one of choice. So that's why I went. Now, recently, I purchased from Westbourne the underbody protection, the skid plates, as well as the rock sliders, the side rails. And I put those on myself at this old age, and that was quite a challenge to do that.
Better him than me.
Yeah. So you have to rest it on your knees and your chest and work it up and so on.
Right. Also, in addition to that, you see that you chose the one winch.
Right, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what your choice on the
Right,
one.
so that is the one XP 9.5, 9,500 pound winch. Right now it has steel cable on it, but I'm going to change that out actually this week to synthetic, and I have original one synthetic cable.
Nice.
For that, just for safety, really. And I'm going to use the roller fair lead instead of the hawser fair lead. And see if I get away with that and it doesn't damage it, because that fair lead hasn't been used. It's still smooth. Right.
So together with the one winch, you have the double battery setup. Tell us a little bit about
right.
that.
The double battery, I also bought the kit from Westbourne, so it's ARB again. And I'm using an AGM absorb glass mat battery for the second battery, and a Bosch battery for the main starter battery. And I'm using Red Arc automatic voltage sensing relay to separate the two when the voltage of both drops below 12 point something. So that it just switches the load to the auxiliary battery. So I always have the start battery ready to go.
Nice.
And I have a switch to switch both batteries for winching, or switch to either battery 1, battery 2, or battery 1 and 2 for winching.
Ladies and gentlemen, this guy brought Australia to Trinidad, basically in a nutshell. So, Mr. David,
Yeah.
like I said, we realized that you brought Australia to Trinidad with this beautiful rig that you showed us here today. I would like to thank you very much for getting in contact with me in the initial stages. It's actually one of my customers who used to work with, a work colleague of him, that put him on to me, and just one day he showed up at my house and said, I want you to be my mechanic now. I was like, no problem. And since then we've formed a very close relationship.
Yeah, man.
And he's always been around. He helped me with some tools that he wasn't using.
That's right.
And he gave me for a steal of a deal. Mr. Davis has become a very close friend of mine, of the shop, and a lot of the younger generation who is with us in the shop on a daily basis, on a regular basis, has learned a lot from him also. So I just like to thank him very much for being here today, to giving us the opportunity to deal with this Behind the Build series. Stay tuned for the build series, behind the build series with the Suzuki Jimny that he owns. You guys will love to hear the feedback on that. Any closing remarks, Mr. David?
No, just thank you very much, Salim and Kyle. Great videos. I'm watching your build series for your new Hilux. And just keep on trucking, as we say 40 years ago, and go safe.
Nice.
Okay? Pleasure. Thanks a lot.
They sponsor us a lot with a lot of our I don't know why I was getting lost for words sometimes. Like who the hell? Hello and welcome back to the Behind the Build series. Unfortunately,
so right now we with Mr. David. We're on a little drive in his Hilux.
Following a beautiful Hilux. TCR 6679.
Oh, yeah, he's going in mud. Of course he is. So yeah.
So this is a trail?
Yeah, this is a